Hey, how are you, folks? Good evening, good Thursday evening to you. It's good to see you, and it's good to be seen by you. I, of course, doing the seeing and the being good, am Bill Sylvie, aka the Dungeon Delver, and welcome to it, everybody. This is a little thing we do. If you're new to the channel and you're not sure what the heck is going on here, guys, 5 nights a week, we live stream tabletop RPG goodness, whether we're playing a game, whether we're talking about our classic favorites, or whether we're hosting great guests like tonight. That's the thing we do. So if you haven't already clicked that subscribe button, please do click the subscribe button. Click the bell icon for notifications. And if you like this video, give it a thumbs up and leave a comment down below if you're watching it later, or even if you're watching it now, and tell us what you like about the video, and I'll do more of it. Give it a thumbs down if you don't like it and tell me what you don't like about it, and I'll do less of it. And anyway, I will do whatever I can to make you happy. And of course, I'd like to remind everyone, this live stream is brought to you by our friends at Hellebarde Games. Hellebarde makes the kind of adventures they'd like to play, whether it's for the OSR, whether it's for 5th edition D&D, Old School is in play at the table with Hellebarde, and you can check them out on Drive-Thru RPG or on their website, hellebardegames.com. So welcome everybody. We've got a good crowd shuffling in. It's wonderful to have you all here. Now, as you all know, a few times, more than a few times, we've had Matt Finch on the show. Matt's awesome. We like Matt a lot. But it's great. It's wonderful how role-playing game circles can move. You can meet so many interesting people. And so Risa over there at Brave Alice reached out to me and said, hey, have you checked out Dim Day Red? Have you checked it? Have I checked it out? No, I haven't. So she put me in touch with tonight's guest, who I'm going to bring on here in just a minute and let him do some talking, I promise. And I started looking at this. Now, everybody knows we love post-apocalypse games here on the Delver's Dungeon, whether it's something nice and old and crunchy like Aftermath, Gamma World, TMNT and Other Strangeness, Twilight 2000 even, or even newer editions of Twilight 2000 or Gamma World. We love a good post-apocalypse setting. And as I have said, any setting can be pre-apocalypse. I mean, you take a Call of Cthulhu adventure, you're trying to buy humanity just a few more minutes, right? But what about a mid-apocalypse setting? That intrigued me, and I think it's going to intrigue you guys too, but I'm not going to spoil it anymore. I'm going to let the man himself talk about it. Everybody, put your hands together and then take them apart immediately, because you realize I can't hear you applaud, for Spiros Drakatos, coming to us live in the wee hours of the morning where he is. Spiros, how are you? Welcome to the show.
Hello. Hi, thank you for having me.
Oh, thank you for being here. I hope you've had some strong coffee, my friend. But anyway, so welcome. Tell us a little bit about yourself. If I understood correctly, and please do correct me if I'm wrong about this or anything, you're kind of new to tabletop gaming, at least the creating end of it. Do I have that right?
Yeah. Despite my age, I'm not the guy who played D&D in the 80s, as we see in the movies. Although I was old enough then. I was always more of a video game guy. So I played from the very, very early Spectrum consoles to today. But my oldest son, he has spent his youth playing role-playing games. So when I was playing with the idea of creating a game around this concept, we sat together and said, okay, let's create a tabletop RPG on that. So he has helped me a lot.
That's awesome. So you got a built-in QA department right there. Just somebody to just bounce ideas off right in the house.
Yeah.
That's great. So tell us about Dim Day Red, about a mid-apocalypse RPG. Let's get into the setting. We can talk about the crunch a little bit down the line, but tell us about the world. Let's get into that.
Sure. Okay. The main idea behind Dim Day Red is that Earth has fallen off its orbit and it's going towards the sun. So it's getting hotter and hotter every year. This has happened 93 years ago. And in 52 more years, it will be so close to the sun that it will be too hot and everything will die. So their electronics are fried from the solar storms and the magnetic fields that have been created. So they have no electronics, no computers. And as a result, they can't leave the planet. So they have to stick in there and, wait it to happen. So that's the main setting. As you can imagine, under these circumstances, society has, been destroyed. There are no social structures anymore, and the polar ice has melted because of the heat in the later years. So most of the northern hemisphere is underwater. Has flooded. So the powerful countries of the north has once again moved to the south and recolonized the south. So now we are in Pan-Europa, the new Europe, where they have moved southwards to Africa, and they have recolonized Africa. And the main setting is in Neubone, the capital of Pan-Europa, which is located where Cairo is today.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's the main idea. And it was a concept that I was playing with during the first lockdown in the pandemic, where we're all sitting inside and had a lot of time.
Yeah.
And I thought, okay, let's see what would happen if a world knew that it was going to end, but it's not going to end tomorrow. It's not going to end, soon, like a comet is coming or something like that. It's more common in stories, but it has an impending end that you can see, but it's far enough for you to have time to do stuff. And what would you do? And the main question of the setting is, what would you do if you knew that the world would end in 52 years?
Wow. So that is that's pretty intense, and I think Jimmy Invictus there in the chat says it's a dying Earth scenario. Are you familiar with Vance's Dying Earth novels?
I didn't know about them, but I've heard of them and take them out during the course of creating the game.
Right. Well, I mean, that is something that definitely scratches the itch of a lot of us old D&D guys, is a dying Earth setting. But I like the idea that you're putting forward, that this dying Earth is something we all recognize. It's not weird and baroque. We're watching the impending doom slowly come in. Like you say, it's not tomorrow, it's not next week, it's not next month, but you also don't have quote unquote enough time.
Yeah. Sometimes some people come to me and say, okay, that this is looks cool and all that, but no, it's too bleak, and there's no hope, and I don't like it. It's like turns me off. And it's funny because the whole idea behind this concept is what, as adults, all of us, more or less, we have about 50 something years to live. And we know that. We know of our impending end, our mortality, and we're going towards that. But we don't say, "Oh, I'm going to die in 50 years. Okay, let's drop everything. Let's go out and break cars or whatever." You stick in there and you make choices and you choose the way you want to live, and you have this set time to do stuff. And what I wanted to do with this setting was take that, our individual mortality, and put it on the world and say, what would the world do if something like that happened?
It is a fascinating concept, and there's places where I've seen it touched on, perhaps not quite so. And I don't mean this in a negative way, but perhaps not quite as bleak, but in things like On the Beach, Neville Shute's 1959 novel, which dealt more with, the specter of nuclear fallout rather than, something as cosmic as this. But I got to ask the question, and I'm thinking I know the answer is probably no, because I talked to Jim Ward, who wrote the first apocalypse RPG setting and the first science fiction RPG setting, but he wrote Gamma World. And I asked Jim once, I said, "Well, Jim, did you write this game with the idea in mind that things are fixable?" And he said, "Oh, yeah, absolutely. Eventually, yes. I mean, you can start a process to fix things. But in something like Dim Day Red, there is no fixing. There is no, hey, let's just get out and push the planet just a few degrees the other way, and then everything's hunky-dory again." This is, you've set up a scenario here where you are bound by a future that you cannot affect, but it is far enough away that total nihilism isn't necessarily the tone for the day. So go ahead.
Yeah, I was always intrigued by the idea of how we find hope, as people, as a society, and even in very difficult and hard situations, people tend to find hope. If I don't know if you remember a movie, an Italian movie. Remember the actor was Benito Benini, something. I don't remember the name exactly. Beautiful, Life is Beautiful, where he's in a concentration camp and all that, and it's really, really bleak setting, very dark. But the guy, he finds a way to make other people happy and give them hope. And I always like this idea against the more happy end thing, where that things will be fixed in the end with a magical way or whatever. And one thing that I really enjoy about all this is that how people sometimes come and either I tell them about the story or they have read it and all that, and they come to me and say, I like this because it feels real to me. And that's something I find it really interesting for a very fantastic story, to have touch points that feel real, that connect with people in a real way, and that's what I try to do.
Okay, and so this is up on Kickstarter. I mentioned that this thing funded with no pun intended, with a quickness. So let's pull the page up there and have a look at it. I gotta say, I'm loving the art right off the bat. It's got a heavy metal or Marvel Epic Illustrated, if you will, vibe to it. I'm digging that quite a lot.
What you're saying now? It's last year's Kickstarter. Right.
Oh, that is last year's. Okay. Yeah. Well, let me see here.
If you search for Doomday Red inside Kickstarter, it will show you 2 projects.
Okay. All right, my mistake. Sorry about
No
that.
worries.
Let's see here. Yep, there. Okay, so now are tell us a little bit about the graphics layout of it, about the that aspect.
Okay. My actual job for about 25 plus years now, I'm a designer. I design stuff, and I'm this kind of multidisciplinary designer, artist guy who likes to create different kinds of things, and I never managed to keep my patience or my interest in one in one aspect of design. So bringing all this experience from that and into a personal project, because what I do is that I'm getting paid to make other people's stuff look good. So when I said, okay, let's create something for me, it was really putting all this experience and whatever uh, abilities together and creating something that I very consciously tried to make it appealing and interesting for people. So yeah, the design of this thing is exactly that. One thing I say at points like this is that the when I first sat down and said, okay, I have this idea. What am I going to do with it? Always thought I wanted to create a game. And at the first, I wasn't sure if I was going to create a video game or a tabletop game. But in either case, I thought, okay, it will be just another game. I have been playing games all my life. But in later years, what happens is that I play something, and in about a month or so, I have forgotten about it. I will forget about it. And when I started to create my own game, I said, okay, how can I make it, to stick? How can I make it memorable? So one thing I can really do as a designer is to put the detail and the love and the attention that people really appreciate when they see it. And I think that's something that has helped a lot this project to stand out for people.
That's excellent. And I mean, being the graphic designer, as you say, I mean, you can get that total vision straight in. I mean, you know what you want the art to look like. There is no back and forth, like, well, I want it a little more this way or whatever.
Yeah.
What's in your mind and in your heart is right there on the page. And that has to be for all of us, myself included. I mean, I put out little zines and modules and things like that, but I'm on a budget of approximately zero. So nobody wants stickman drawings. So, I'm just stuck with the words on the page, but you've got this great visual style here, and I hope I have the right Kickstarter page up now.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay. But this one too has funded, but it's 13 days to go, guys. You can get in on this and back this project. And you've got let's see, you got some great authors here in this. And of course, you've gotten lots of good feedback from it. I can honestly say I have not seen a negative review of Dim Day Red, and I think that's awesome, particularly when it's your first time out. I mean, going out there, did you feel kind of that trepidation? Did you look over the tabletop market and think, where am I going to fit in this? Is this, or was it just a, you know what, I'm just going to swing for the fences and
yeah, I went in with a kind of naivete, I just said, okay, let's create a tabletop game. I didn't really do a lot of research on what exists, or if there's a gap in the market and all that, because all this is at the end it's a love project. It's something I wanted to do, so I would do it anyway. If nobody cared about it, I would do it anyway. And that's a kind of the artistic part of me as a creator, because as a designer, you have to fulfill a goal. You have something you try to achieve for a client or whatever. But as an artist, you don't have to do that. As an artist, you create something, you put it out to the world, and if the world doesn't like it, it doesn't really matter, because that's not the point. You want to just express something. So this project sits somewhere in the middle of all that. In one end, it is a commercial project. It is so people can go and buy it. But on the other, in another part, it's just me expressing ideas and emotions and all that, and trying to share that with people.
Right on. And I love that kind of passionate thing. That's what I do here with the channel. I've said, look, man, if one person is watching out there,
yeah.
If I have one subscriber and it's just one person saying, I need this, man, this is good stuff, I'm still going to do it, because I like sitting back here and talking about role-playing games and talking to creators. But fortunately, I do a little bit better than that, and you've done a lot better than that, because you got funded like that, and it's just it's going along. So as somebody new to it, now I think, if I'm not mistaken, so you're using Powered by the Apocalypse for the engine, the works underneath this. Did you think at first, I'll go looking for a mechanism, or did you try to create your own mechanism? What was the decision making behind going with Powered by the Apocalypse?
Okay, one thing I've learned through the years is when you try to create something, it's sometimes clever or wise or whatever to go with your strengths, to go where you're good at. So knowing that I don't have a tabletop RPG background, I didn't have the years and the time in that of other people I've met since, who are very, very knowledgeable about mechanics and all that. So I said, of course, let's find the system. I didn't imagine to create something by myself. So yeah, I started researching the open systems that I could use. And the Powered by the Apocalypse system drew me for two main reasons, really. The first and foremost is that I was reading their stuff. I was reading Apocalypse World, and then in one point at the beginning they said, okay, these are the rules, but you don't have to use them. It doesn't matter. The whole idea is to tell the story. And if you want to change the rules or leap over the rules or whatever, it's okay. And I really liked this idea, this concept. And of course, even then, but even more now, I knew that this doesn't connect with everybody. There are people who don't, in the RPG community, who don't like this kind of whatever you want thing, but they want things to be more structured. But I knew, and I took this very consciously, that this wouldn't appeal to everybody. But my purpose from the start was to let people play and create stories in this setting, in whatever kind of way they feel good about doing it. I didn't want them to put them, in a more structured environment game. And so that really felt okay with me, and say, okay, let's do that. And the other thing I see like that. I don't know if everybody does, but I perceive that in this way, is that Apocalypse World for me has this video RPG kind of mechanic where you have the moves, and as you level up, you can advance these moves or get new ones. This really connected with me from all the years I'm playing, video games, video RPGs. So I said, okay, this feels interesting, and what the things you can do with the moves. So yeah.
Right on. So the next question is there's been a lot of this going on, and I guess not being as mired in tabletop games, although you may have heard it from your son. There's been, of course, a big crisis, controversy, if you will, with shenanigans from Hasbro and Wizards of the Coast regarding their open gaming and that sort of thing. And it sent a lot of creative people to seek safer ports elsewhere, calmer waters, if you will. So as Dim Day Red moves forward and gains popularity, and it is, I mean, I think I speak for everyone here in the audience that 13 large is nothing to sneeze at, and that's not even to consider what the launch was like last year. Is this something that is open? Could a second party develop, say, this is my campaign exploring the ruins of drowned New York City, and I'm going to publish this, and it's compatible with Dim Day Red? Is that a thing people can do?
I think that would be really, it would feel great for me. When I created Dim Day Red, I didn't say, okay, let's create a tabletop game, let's create a video game, let's create a specific system, whatever. Mm-hmm. For me, this is an open world, an open project, and I don't know if you've seen it. We have created a comic book on that.
I did.
Yeah, and I'm also now working on mobile visual novel kind of game on Doomday Red, and I'm in talks still for creating a short animation movie around the story. So for me, it's not just the game. I really love the tabletop medium, tabletop RPG medium, because for one main reason, because it gives other people the ability to create their own stories. So, okay, take this world and do whatever, play whatever in it. And this really excites me. I really like that. To just me telling my stories in this world. But there are so other ways to connect with this world that people, for example, for people who don't play tabletop games, but they may read comics or play video games or whatever. So yeah, that's my bigger picture about this project.
That's fascinating. So you're creating. It's not just about the TTRPG, but like you say, you got the visual novel, you got the animation coming in. John Vladman out there in chat says we want that Netflix Dim Day Red show. # Let's make this happen. Hey. I don't know anybody in the industry, but if this is as good as it looks on paper, and I think it could be, maybe swing for the fences again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The funny thing is that I'm joking all of the time about the Netflix series. That's of course something that's it's going to happen. And the funny thing is that people find it possible. They say, yeah, sure, you should try. I have some friends that have some connections in Netflix here in Greece, and they tell me go pitch it, and I say, okay, I will, but not yet. Let it create some kind of buzz around it. But yeah.
Well, I mean, it sounds to me like you've got this multimedia push down pat, man, and I'm digging this. And again, to come back to the central conceit, the idea that it's not like a Fallout or Gamma World or Twilight 2000 where okay, things are wrecked and now we start the cozy apocalypse and we start rebuilding things. This is role playing in a future where there is no future. So, and I guess you've probably kind of given the answer already in what you've said here. But when you're approaching a potential company, multimedia company, with something like this, I mean, do you find it's a hard sell to go to them and say, yeah, in my concept, humanity's done in 52 years. There is no better tomorrow down the road. Do you find there's any pushback on that?
Of course, I would imagine that in a very popular pop part like mainstream culture, that wouldn't sell too well. Yeah, I can imagine that. But I believe that for everything, for whatever kind of story and there's out there, there's an audience for it. Even for very dark stuff, even for very silly stuff, even for whatever, there's an audience. And if you look globally, this audience can be big enough to sustain, something, a project like that. So yeah, I'm not going to make the next, I don't know, cyberpunk kind of game or universe or whatever. But I would be really interested to find the kind of people who would go into this. And of course, there's another big talk about how you go with publishers and people in the industries and all that, which is something I really haven't even started approaching yet, because even at this point, this is an artistic kind of project, has its own vision. So it's not, at least for now, when somebody offers me millions, I don't know, at the point that's gonna settle this vision for something less.
Right on. Well, this it sounds and looks great. But I want to ask you about you a little bit. And I know this is like the cheesiest, most just boilerplate question. So, but you'll have to forgive me. But having looked at your stuff before the show and everything, and of course the title cards and everything, I do have to ask this: what is your what is your main artistic? What are your main artistic influences when you were getting into art? What fired your imagination the most? Which artists and styles?
Oh, I was always this guy, even when I was young, who didn't feel natural to go in one way. I was always bored too fast. So I was into things that would influence my creativity, but this would change so fast that I didn't really go into other people's work or ideas. For example, I can tell you when I was first starting, I was 18, whatever, and I was first starting thinking what I'm going to do with my creative life. I always wanted to do comics, but I didn't have, even now, I didn't have the dedication to put the time in to create comics. So the comic we have created now, I write it and I design the layout and the backgrounds, all the backgrounds, but the characters are created by Caio Neri, who's a Brazilian artist, because characters is something that I never put the time to master. So I can draw one character in one position, but I couldn't make them, more alive. Right. So when I was first starting dreaming that I would be a comic book artist, my influences were very much about coming from the European comics I was reading at the time. Very much from the Judge Dredd comics, and that's something that has come into this project very much. At points it's visible, people could see that. But I never gotten into the depth onto. I don't even remember the very talented people who created these comics, I don't know. And then as a designer, I went on to have influences in the design field from very talented people, again, who I didn't really got into their work. It was like touch and go stuff. And that's what, for me, I don't know, interesting, because all this very, in a way, superficial influences came together and created what I am as a designer, because it's something like that, I don't really know where it starts and where it ends. So I'm not this kind of artist that I would say, okay, I was influenced by that and that and that, because I could be influenced by a poster I saw in the street, and I never know who did it. I lived in London for about 4 years, and the streets there, the art and the design on the streets and in the underground and all that influenced me in a way that I never know what exactly it is, but they shaped me as a designer.
Right. So you're just absorbing just whatever works and fits. Okay, that. Yeah. So you just kind of bring it all together in this wonderful combination. I like that.
There's a super villain in Marvel comics, but I don't remember who he is that does something like that, who takes other people's abilities and makes them his own.
Oh yeah, I think that was the absorbing man. I think that was his actual thing. He can grab onto you and do something like that. But and so we got a few questions out here in the audience.
Sure.
Well, let's see. So let me see here. My window is so small. Michael Dale says we got to ask the tough questions. What is your favorite all-time favorite PC or console RPG, and why? Michael,
that's not too difficult to answer, and the reason is that, as I was saying, I have forgotten so many games that I really enjoyed playing, and in a way I feel bad about it, because it feels for me some kind of disrespect for the hard work of all those people who wrote them and designed them and created them, and they gave me this opportunity to live and in these worlds and experience them and enjoy them, and I don't remember it. I really feel bad. But one thing I haven't forgotten, and I don't know, maybe it's the amount of hours I've spent, I don't know, but it's definitely the quality of everything was Red Dead Redemption. That was something that really drew me in. I really like the idea that the guy dies in the end. Sorry if I spoiled that for anybody. I don't think so. And that's something that again shows how I like my stories. I always like the stories that don't have a happy end. I felt they felt real for me. I could connect, understand them better.
Well, there you go, Michael. I hope that that answers your question. One I'm going to ask you now is so clearly this is taking off. That this has definitely got some legs on it. So, well, I have a few questions, but obviously, but are now that it's gaining ground like this, are you finding yourself drawn more to the tabletop scene, or is this like, oh, okay, that's cool, gonna keep focusing on a more multimedia approach? Do you find yourself now kind of being pulled down that path? Are you becoming one of us, Spiros?
Yeah. As I said, I really like the idea of other people coming into this world that I've created and doing what they want to do.
Okay.
And that is something that it's not really possible with other mediums. With even in video games, in open worlds, you are you have some kind of freedom, but you can't really do whatever you want. So for that, the tabletop RPG scene, it's very unique and really exciting for me. What I would dream of happening would be if this project got to a point that other people could come into it and put the experience they have that I don't, to create something that could be something really more for the tabletop scene. But maybe I could reach it up to a certain point. But as I said a couple of times, I'm bored too easily as a creator, and as a person. So I couldn't imagine myself sticking to one thing. And until now, at least, and until the Netflix deal and all that, this has been a one-man band project. Everything, almost everything that happened, it's me. and that
I
happens.
very get that. Yeah.
Yeah, for one reason, and that's because I have this vision about this project. I need it to be as I dream of it, as I imagine it. So I wouldn't just give it out, share it in a way that it would destroy this vision. And on the other hand, when you're dealing with the budgets I have up to now, you can't really pay people to tell them, what you want them to do. So I'm keeping this small until now, so I can have control of it. Yeah.
Right on. Right on. And I guess the next question, I feel like you kind of already answered. So I apologize if it sounds like I'm redundant, but are there other ideas that you've had other than Dim Day Red that you would like to bring to the tabletop? Is it like down the road? Is there a different focus you'd like to take, or is this kind of your whole thing, or do you just not?
Yeah, I think this will be my contribution to humanity. That's how I say it. That's and I'm trying to focus on that. It's in reality, it could be a huge project, because now where we are now, we are at Neoborn. We are in Cairo with in specific setting, specific things happening. But you have this whole other world that it's under fog of war right now. We don't know what's happening under it. So it would be really interesting to explore other parts of this story, and that's how I am approaching this.
Okay.
And in my head, as long as people care about it and I find it interesting, I have reason to stick with it. But I'm not the kind of person who would look at something like this, commercially and say, okay, we have this whatever IP thing, let's milk whatever we can take out of it. I think I would go it as I would take it as far as it made sense for me and for others.
Right. So you don't just I like that approach. This isn't just something to flip out there like, okay, here's an IP, you guys can buy it or don't. I got a million of them. This is your baby, and I like that approach a lot. And like I said, I completely get the one man band thing. I mean, you're looking at the staff of the Delver's Dungeon right here, so I completely.
Yeah.
I have had some people step in and help. I shouldn't act like I'm carrying the world, but no, I get that. There was a question, kind of a nuts and bolts question, and I think I've got this, but just for clarity's sake, Jimmy Invictus says, what is the tech level in the world? Is it kind of a science fantasy, science fiction, or would you say it's closer to present day?
Okay. What has happened? I don't know under which category you will put it. I was never too good with this stuff. Okay. But what's happened is that electronics are fried. They have no computers, but this has happened into some kind of near future from us. So they have the technology, they have the knowledge about machines and technology, but they can't have electronics. So the technology is at the point where they can have machines, they have electricity, but nothing they create or use can't be electronic. They don't have a way to use computers on that. So in my head, it's a kind of late 19th century machines, but more advanced in the way that we would do them today.
Right. So it's kind of a steampunk setting, but with an edgier, more modern kind of feel to it.
Yeah, because people do have the knowledge of how the machines evolve. For example, they have mechas, they have exoskeletons that they use, and these are mechanical. They use batteries. Electricity is a very important element in the whole thing. In Neubon, the currency, money, is batteries. So
I like that idea.
Electricity is money, yeah. And that's because the most powerful family in Pan-Europa, they control huge solar factories in Sahara, where they get all the electricity that then distribute to Neubon and control how power is used. So yeah, you can have mechas that use batteries, huge batteries to power, and then they have the technology to use the human movement to make these things move and function, but without the electronics.
Right on, because you know, something again like steam, hydraulics, pneumatic systems, things like that. You don't need anything more than a simple electric engine, and those existed back in the 1870s.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
So there you go, Jimmy. It's you know, the lights aren't out yet, but you're not going to be hopping on Twitter to complain about the heat. if that paints the picture for you. So you had me at Mecca. All right. And I know again, it's the powered by apocalypse system, but I gotta say, I love the idea that so much is electric, and currency, no pun intended, is batteries. Like, how much electricity do you have? So I would imagine that a resource war in Dim Day Red, something like that would look like less of a fight over you know, anything more than hey, we need to get that intact solar farm. You know, we need to, you know, we need to secure that electricity. So there's probably a fair deal of stylized violence in that, because you don't want to go lobbing cannonballs around randomly, because then, you know, what's the point, right? If it's all broken before you get to it.
Yeah, sure. And another very visually apparent element in the game, in Neubon, is cables, because everything runs through them. They don't have airwaves anymore. They don't have signals, because of the magnetic fields. Nothing can really travel in the air. So everything has to go through cables. So it's a very chaotic setting of how information and power and all that run through stuff. And there's a big power struggle about who controls that and how they control it, because in reality. And the idea behind the cables is that they have to run all this stuff through them, but because the world is ending, nobody really cares to bury the cables, not make them not visible, because why bother, you know? It doesn't matter. So yeah. Dim Day Red as a setting, and that was always my kind of thing, my preference, is very violent, and in parts can be very gory and all that. But again, and that's the exciting thing about the tabletop scene, because if you see the comic, it has splatter blood every second page, because
I see that on the thumbnail for the video. There's a splash on it.
Yeah. I really I always like that. So
very intense.
So when I'm telling the story, throats will split and blood will splatter and all that. But when somebody else tells a story, they don't have to go that way, you know, because there are factions who in the game who are very peaceful and spiritual, and they go completely the other way, and you can, you know, just find your existence and leave everybody do whatever they want to do and all that. And that's again something that really excites me about the tabletop medium, the tabletop RPG medium, is that it gives you this freedom to do what you want to do. For example, in this zine, in this year's zine, there's the first adventure that I'm writing about this in the setting. And in the center of it, it's like a Romeo and Juliet kind of story. It's a couple struck that you have to do stuff with them, and the idea that okay, the world is ending and everything is fucked, and things have gone to hell. But even in that, there's love, because, you know, always love will be always whatever the setting, you know. And what would you do with that as a player? Because when you set out to this adventure, you have to find this young couple, and kill them, because that's your mission. But you don't have to. You don't not. You know, you can choose what you do with that, and if their story will inspire you to do something else or whatever. And that's really cool for me as an idea, you know.
Yeah, well, you know, and I feel like that's that, you know, you hit on something, and it's like you said earlier, you know, yes, the world is doomed, but there's still time, and as you say here, you know, there's still love in a setting like this. There's still there's still this idea that you have to live in this world. You know, you can do the best with the time that you have, and I like the idea, the two star-crossed lovers, and, you know, right out of the bag, you got, you know, the party, you got to go whack these guys. But of course, it's an RPG, and as you said earlier, with the openness of an RPG, the party, the adventuring group can immediately turn away from that and say, no, you know, it doesn't have to be that dark today. We can, you know,
in the mechanical part of the game, the game is based on part by the Apocalypse in the most part, but there's an extension that goes into the human psyche, because the whole setting, as I mentioned, it's quite existential for me. It has to do with the human existence and mortality. But another thing that really interests me to put in there is our character as people, our psyche, our whatever makes us how we are as individuals. So the game uses cards to do that. And one thing that I found really cool and interesting as a mechanic is that, we make choices, and the choices we make define us in our real lives. And then there's this element of luck, this luck, that sometimes you make preparations and you make choices to do something, and something happened, and then luck comes in and takes you away from that goal. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to find a way to implement that into the game, not just make it something like a black and white, good or bad. Okay, you make good choices, you are a good guy, and then you make bad choices, you're a bad guy. So using the cards, what happens actually is that you draw cards in random. You don't see them from the deck, and then you look at them and you make a choice. And these cards represent the human characters, the human traits. So there's a combination of luck and choice that I really find it interesting. And then these cards will lead you to one of the 7 deadly sins, or the 7 heavenly virtues, which then as cards themselves, you get them if you get enough points from the Moribus cards. And mm-hmm. then these sins and virtues defined at the end, they give you more powers, of course, and they define the kind of character you are. But, and again, that's what I had in mind from the start, is that there's this mechanic that's called a pivot point. So at some points in the story, you could choose to pivot your character. So you can be this really dark guy, bad, don't know, whatever, but you can choose to change that. Like in the Bible, I don't know if it's in the Bible, sorry, but it's a Saint Paul, I think, that he was a Roman and he was, not a very good guy. And at some point, the thing came over his head and he saw the light and all that. Mm-hmm. Or how Vader, at the end, when, Palpatine, he's torturing his son, he becomes this changed man. This is something I really like to put in there to people, so you can start with one mindset and one kind of goal and play, but on the way you have the freedom to change that if you want, of course.
Yeah, I mean, good old D&D. We have the there's the alignment system, the 9 alignments. You can go from lawful good all the way to chaotic evil, but that can be a journey for a character. Like maybe you're evil or neutral, indifferent to it. You can change that system. Yeah. So I think we're all audience wise. I think what you're talking about there is it's a similar concept. If if a different mechanic. But speaking of mechanics, Michael Mertig has a question. He wants to know, what do the symbols on the dice mean? Is it something that leads to a special ability or something like that?
Yeah. In the game, you have 4 dice. Powered by the Apocalypse games, you usually play with 2 D6s. In DIM DAY RED, you play with 2 D8s. And that is because number 7, it's a very important number for the game because of the 7 sins and virtues to start with, but because it's a powerful number in general. So I've used it a lot. And I didn't want to use 7-sided dice because I don't like them very much.
Right.
Yeah, and so the next thing would be 8, which was really cool because you have now 8-sided dice, but the 8 is 0. So you have this 0 element, which always, also is very interesting for me. So when you roll 0, then you can roll one of the tenet dice, the custom dice. And this is 1 white dice for the 7 heavenly virtues and 1 dark black die, which is for the 7 deadly sins. And this, when you roll one of these dice, it will give you 1 point to mark or on your playbook, on your character sheet, on this specific sin or virtue. And when you fill the codes, fill the boxes, you can get the card, and then it's yours. This sin or virtue is yours, and no one of the other players can have it. So there's this element when the players at the beginning know, or at least think they know, that I want to get wrath, for example, because wrath will give me more power. It will give me more aggression, and I want that. So you're going towards this goal, and you try to get this card, but as other people may try to get the same card, you may have conflict there.
Okay, so it's almost a meta mechanic there for stuff that happens at the table, but as it impacts in game. I like that. That's interesting. I also like the love you show the D8. I don't think it gets nearly enough love outside of Dungeons and Dragons, where we use all dice for different things. So thank you on behalf of the D8 Appreciation Society, which I just invented just now, and you and I are the only members of. Thank you for showing the D8 some love. So I see there that there's free dice for all physical backers. There you go, guys. Free dice for all physical backers. Now, let me ask you this. If I'm getting this, let's say I'm I'm sorry, Reese says, just said something funny there in the chat, but let's say I'm getting this in PDF form. Is there like a table? So like if I've got my D8, I've just got some D8s that I bought at the game store that will equate the symbols on the special dice. Yeah. So I could just use whatever I have to hand. So 1 equals this virtue or that vice or what have you.
Yeah. Okay. When we get the quick start guide, which you can get for free from the drive-through RPG and from Itio.
Okay.
In there are tables for the dice, but there's also tables for the cards. So you don't have to have the cards to play, because you can roll the dice and then match the result with the table and then get that card. So the only thing you really need to play is the quick start.
Okay.
Yeah, But the cards are really beautiful, so people tend to want to have them.
Oh yeah, I mean, your art is top notch, and I think this is definitely something that if this scratches anyone's itch, you should definitely definitely go for it. Let me pull that drive-through page up. I'm gonna throw the link in the chat so you guys out there, you can check this out. It cost exactly $0, so as far as I'm concerned, there's no reason not to give it a look. Let's share this. I gotta click like 9 things to share a screen in StreamYard. So there we go. And finally, so there's the quick start. And under description, of course, the tabletop RPG DIM Day Red pits players right in the last days of humankind. Nowhere to run, no Deus Ex Machina, just choosing how they'll live their lives while the world ends. Depending on their choices and playing style, players gains Morbius cards, which lead to time in the 7 deadly sin and 7 heavenly virtue cards. Their sin and virtues define their personalities and provide them with unique abilities and drawbacks. Choose your deadly mutation/faction, and I'm going to come back to that in just a second, and take your place in a world socially divided, doomed to be consumed by the sun. So you mentioned a couple of things that are definitely of interest around here, but I want to get to the first things first. Who was this? Jimmy Invictus asked, beside the looming existential crisis, what are the antagonist factions? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
The main struggle is between the castes, because what has happened, and my idea is that, okay, the world is ending. Somebody comes to the TV tomorrow and says, okay, guys, in 150 years, the world will end, and we can't do anything about that. Mm-hmm. Which is not exactly what happened. I'm gonna say a story here, but I think it's funny enough. Is that when this thing happened, when the first Earth cone went off its orbit, they still had technology. They still had their advancement. So they started to prepare to live, because that's what we do if we heard something like that, because technology wasn't destroyed in a day. So they started creating spaceships, and they sent robots to create a colony in Mars. So in the first years after the lapse, which is the event that happened and sent the Earth off its orbit, a colony on Mars was started being built, and they made enough progress, and they were ready for people to start going there. But what happened was the Icarus event, which were a huge solar storm that fried everything. So now there is a ghost town on Mars. Nobody lives there because they never went.
Right.
And they're stuck down to Earth. So that's the one thing that happened. So after that, when they lost all hope, because until then they had the hope to live, and society structures just crumbled. The thing that happened, and I believe something like that would happen, it's that, okay, people might lose all hope or reason or whatever and go onto the streets and burn stuff. But the people who have power today, the people who have money, who are really, rich and powerful, they wouldn't say, okay, fuck it, just throw it away, let's go burn cars. They would grab whatever system, structure, power they could, and they would stick around that, even as they were going to an end. And that's what's happened, actually, is that the people who are behind the scenes today, because we say today that, that we have governments and all that, but there are these families that run things behind the scenes in every country, the whole world. So that's what happened. These families came from the back states, and they became the actual regimes that govern whatever's left.
Right.
So this system has created a system of castes, and you have the 2 upper castes and the 2 lower castes. And in Neobone, the lower castes are encircled by a big wall, and they have to live in there, in a place called the center. And that's a bit opposite of what happens usually, where the rich people are inside the wall. Now the poor people are inside the wall, and they can't leave. So there's the first power struggle is between the upper and the lower castes. The idea is, I always liked these Kafkaesque stories where you're opposed to a system you have no hope against. And that's something like that here. But in the center, the people who live there, they left by themselves. They're not permitted to leave the wall, the center, but they can do almost whatever they want in there. And so there's in that the idea that even when people are downgraded and oppressed and miserable and all that, they will find ways to, even between themselves, be racist, be bigoted, be whatever. So you have that in the center. Even all those people are united under this common oppression. They're still fighting between themselves. And you have even lower levels of low in there. So the main government form in the center are the syndicates. The syndicates are, in effect, crime organizations like the mob, that they rule each of the 5 districts of the center. Each one has its own territory, and then there's a power struggle between them. The factions are not something that are fighting each other. The factions are kind of groups that have a specific either interest or ability or kind of knowledge. For example, one faction is the Old Boys. The Old Boys is like a group of men, no women in them, permitted, that they have something like a complete knowledge on machines. They're crafters, so they can build stuff and they can build anything. And they can be hired. They work as a clan with rules, but they're also freelancers in them who are outside these rules and can be hired to do stuff that the creed wouldn't do. And yeah, that's I think more or less that's the idea. There is a bigger system that oppresses people, and then in this center, there's people who also try to have control of the power and all that. But other than that, it's quite chaotic and free, because I mean, that's the whole idea, that you wouldn't have too much structure in a setting like that.
Sure. I mean, yeah, in a situation like that, it's like, hey, don't steal. Why? What are you going to put me in jail for the rest of my life? So I would imagine things would, for better or worse, loosen up quite a bit under such conditions. But the government system that you're describing, or the power structure, I should say, the power structure that you're describing for that sounds just absolutely fascinating. Now there's something I do have to I want to ask you about, because as fans of the old classic Gemma world, I'm really itching to know. Tell us about the mutations a little bit. That is that's something I think folks are super interested in too.
Yeah, the mutations is one part that I really enjoy when I was creating them, because they are based on one common thing, and that is that all the mutations have to do with cancer, or they're all cancerous.
Okay.
So they come from the solar radiation, and that's how they're created. And of course, there's not much science behind them, but I didn't want to go that way. I didn't try to make them very, scientific.
Sure.
No interest in that. But the idea is that every kind of mutation gives people power, specific powers, but at the same time, and as time goes by and as they use these powers, it kills them. They will die from it. So, for example, you have people who have developed tumors behind their eyes, so their eyes can see the heat of living things. And so these people don't see colors; they see in black and white, but they see some kind of heat aura around people, and they can even see that behind walls and stuff. And these people also, some of them, not all of them, develop visions and become oracles in a way. And then these other mutations, the hard skins, where there are tumors that are developed on the skin. And some people can learn to manipulate these tumors and create. They are like tanks in the game. They can create shields and stuff, and even projectiles. But even that, as they use them in time, the tumors will grow, and in the end, these people become more and more. It's more harder to move, but also more armored, because by the end they're like living rocks, and in the end they die as statues. They petrify in the end, and it's like a rock-shaped human.
Right, kind of like the Thing from Fantastic Four. Not wisecracking and saying it's clobbering time, more like it's lying there in agony time.
And not very agile as the Thing, but something like that.
Well, Spiros, man, this sounds like an absolute blast. I can't wait to dig in it myself. I'm definitely gonna have to pick this up. either I'll grab it on the Kickstarter or I'll pick it up when it drops. Which would you prefer? Would you like me to back your Kickstarter, or would you like me to just pick it up when it goes retail? You let me know, and I'll do that.
Sure, I will.
But this sounds like a great game. I love the graphic design. It is like I was saying, when it just before you came on. It is kind of a totally new take. It is mid-apocalypse. The post-apocalypse, ain't nobody going to be around for the post-apocalypse. So it is. It is.
There is, and I think I haven't mentioned, is that there is a spiritual or a religious element in the story. And that's the main reason I wanted to set the story in Cairo, because of the pyramids. So there's a mystical thing of stuff that's happening around that. And so there's this meta-religion thing that the Church of Ra. And these are people who believe that when the earth goes towards the sun, they will pass to another plane of existence, and this is all God's work, and they really believe that, and through that they give people hope. What we're going to is not the end; it's another beginning. Yeah, as religions tend to do. And
I was going to say, I would imagine that in this setting, there would probably be a lot of heavy religious factions and sects, and everybody goes, whether you're Muslim, Jew, Christian, Buddhist, whatever, every faith is going to have a different take on why God's doing this, or what this is happening to us. So that's a neat angle. I like that.
In a setting like that, it's only natural that the religion would come in and try to make sense of that.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But I didn't want to go into this very tricky area, what real religions would do. So I've left that out and created new religions that try to use that.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, regardless of what you call it, we're sitting around the table to have fun, right?
Yeah.
You don't want too much of the real world leaking in. You want to like we say, you want to be a pretend elf for 3 hours. The real world will wait. So well, like I said, I'm definitely looking forward to getting this on my bookshelf, and I will for my audience and for yourself and Risa, that I think I could probably be compelled to review this, do a little video deep dive on it. I've got a few things in the pipe, but I would definitely give this a try. I would encourage the audience, and by the way, Spiros, because Risa pinged me, I will fix the link in the description below. I'm sorry, I got it very excited when I was setting up the thumbnail and the media for this. I was like, there it is, and so my apologies, but I will put the correct link in there for the current Kickstarter, and I'll put it in the chat one more time for the audience. You guys definitely go give that a try. As Mercury Well says, screw the review, let's play this thing. I like your gumption, Mercury. So listen, I want to thank you so much for coming on, man. This sounds like an absolute blast of an RPG to give a spin, and I'm looking forward to doing that. You look like you're looking forward to getting some sleep.
Yeah, no, I look like that most of the time. It's my natural look, but no, I really enjoyed that. I think it was really worth me being awake until now.
Well, thank you, man. And can we get you back on sometime? I would love to have you back.
Yeah, of course. As you may have noticed, I'm really, I really like and enjoy talking about this thing, but not only about, my game, because the whole idea of, communicating ways to express ideas and stuff, it's something that really gets my interest.
Well, this you have expressed it very well, just at a glance, sir. So this looks really cool. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
of course, to our audience
Sure.
for being here. And speaking of post-apocalypse, we'll be back tomorrow night. We're going to play some Gamma World. I Spiros, I hope this sucks you into tabletop gaming and you never escape. I hope you become a dice bag wielding grognard of the highest order. And I wish you tons and tons of success with this. We're going to go ahead.
Sorry,
Go ahead.
one last thing. When the Netflix series comes, you will say, I knew this guy. This guy came to my show when he was just having a zine.
Absolutely, man. Yeah, I'll tell everybody. I knew Spiros back when it was cool and underground to know Spiros.
Before he sold out. Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, get me a cameo spot on the show when it rolls out. Anyway, I will leave it at that, sir. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you again to our audience, everybody. We'll see you next time. I'm sorry, I'm having computer problems. Oh, there we go. Take care of yourself, Spiros.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
All right, everybody. Well, that was a ton of fun. I hope you guys all appreciated that. Go check it out. The link is in the chat. Just as quick as I'm done here, I will fix the link below. It was wonderful seeing you all in the audience. A couple of little hiccups out there. Netflix, Risa, right? We're there for it. So you guys have an absolutely wonderful evening. But until then, guys, keep your eyes peeled and beware of the dreaded owl bears. Good night.
Have you seen my owl bear? Here's to all the weirdos everywhere in the woods and in the air. Have you seen my owl bear? Should I shave off all my hair? Bobs are all around. Some live in tunnels underground. Some are fat, some are rich, some are sleeping in a ditch. Can you ride a crooked horse without a saddle way off course? Naked as a toad, all the way to Smoky Joe's. Have you seen the little creep driving fast in his little green Jeep? He smells like fish and brandy, but his rotten teeth look dandy. Take me to the show, I don't care if fast or slow. From action flicks to dancing dicks, just take me to the show.